I've been doing fine. I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb. And I think that the pain that's deep inside
this is like a joint podcast thingy with biking accuracy. We'll think for me, it will be like episode 27.
For me, it will be episode number 5, I believe. So this is Baltic Sniper podcast in Lithuania.
Yeah. So it will be in none of our native languages. So it will be English, and we will see how long it will take for me until I start switching accents. But I will really try not to.
Don't you do it?
No, you've heard enough of that from the following the weekend that was.
Yeah. Yeah. What the weekend, huh?
Yeah, it was good. I had a really great time. It was quite surprising. Like when you get to like the first day that we had, my expectations were quite a bit lower than what we the guys who came and the gear that they had. It was better than what I had expected. Actually, it's and also like the average level of the guys who already came, like you can tell that they were really like into the whole shooting thing, and not just really beginners, but they've done some homework. It made the whole thing a lot easier, and it was also like very rewarding to be there. It was like, yeah, I don't know, but it's like a long story, but it was great.
Yeah. So in general, that like in Lithuania, we think that if you would like to shoot this kind of competition, like there is some kind of entry barrier, so that you just you cannot bring anything as a rifle, as a scope, and etc. So there is like quite let's say quite some level of investment you need to make, and then you can start advancing.
Yeah, for sure. So I think also by the time like when the sport progresses, like you add more people. For Sweden, for example, we have several hundreds of shooters. And when you have like a beginners class, usually it's like for Lithuania when the sport is quite new, there's a lot of people who like invest quite rapidly, and those guys were in Sweden several years ago. But now you have a wider section of beginners who starting out with like pretty basic equipment. So I think like Lithuania in terms of like where they are in the sport is like where Sweden was maybe in like 2017, 2016, I think. Also with the size of the sport.
Okay. So I guess like in every podcast, we need to introduce ourselves a little bit, just like a little bit. So Markus Olsson is like experienced Swedish shooter, one of the best shooters in the Europe, as far as I'm concerned. And he is like quite fastly becoming one of the best friends I have in shooting world internationally.
Well, that's well, now I'm almost blushing. Well, likewise, Mindaugas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see if I can pronounce this right this time. Mindaugas Kashalinas. Yeah, thumbs up. Wonderful. So Mindaugas is actually one of the earlier guys that I started talking to when it came to the whole IPRF thing. And I remember I had actually a look. He started messaging me about 1.5 or 2 years ago. And we were actually planning on doing classes in Lithuania for quite some time, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, we had to postpone it until now. And well, as regards of shooting, you visited Sweden like last week, and you did quite well for being like on your first really big field match. Apart from you went to the finale in France and the World Championship, but those were not. They were more like square range matches with long distances, and this was, if I'm not mistaken, like your first real field match.
Yeah. If we are talking about like sporting event, not some exercises, of some other sort. Yeah, this is my actually first experience in field match, and I really liked it. All Lithuania knows that I really liked it, and all Sweden.
I think everyone in Sweden, yeah, all of Sweden does as well. It's like when you were on the last stage, and one of the guys were like, "Mindaugas, how did you enjoy the competition?" Now I did the accent, and I was just like, yes, it's it's maybe hard for you to understand, but I am in like paradise now.
Yeah, but I did not do that in this accent, actually.
No, I know, but I just did it because it's funny.
Yeah.
I do think accents are funny.
Oh yeah.
No, but it was
That
it was
that I know.
great. So we first met at the French finale, like in person in May.
Yeah, in
And
person.
how
Yes.
did what was the, yeah? So what was the like the Lithuanian journey to going to France in May? Like where did you start, and when did you and your friends decide like this is where we're going?
So I guess like to where the sport was going in Lithuania at the time, I was thinking all the time that we need to go out somewhere out of the country to experience how like the real matches are being like organized. Because in Lithuania, like if to talk about brief history, what we have here. So actually, from the long range perspective, we have quite a big traditions, but in F class shooting. So bench rest is very popular in Sweden, like to say at least in the past. So F class shooting discipline is very important. Like it's still quite popular in Lithuania, and a lot of PRS shooters came back and forth, to the F class, or there are also group of shooters who are going to both competitions. So basically, when we had this Baltic long range open up in Lithuania a few years ago, we started to shoot quite a lot of steel, but mainly like one day, six to eight stages matches with like 50, 60, 70 rounds per match. And you saw the possibilities there. The range is quite nice, but also we were shooting quite far, but also at the same time quite big targets. So when there was this idea to go somewhere out and to experience how the matches are organized internationally, like looking a little bit forward, when we already knew that the world championship will be based in France, and finale is like a repetition for that. French finale is like a repetition for that. We just gathered with the friends, with the buddies, and say let's go to experience the range, to experience the location, and also to get some, how to say, even like friendships, connections, and etc. From the international community. And as soon as this idea, how to say, started to come to the fruition, we saw that Swedish guys are coming, Norwegians are coming. So then, like UK guys also signed up. So it was quite, I would say, interesting competition.
Yeah, it turned out to be what everyone almost called like the first unofficial European Championship.
Yeah.
I think everyone had like just a really great time meeting everyone.
Mhm.
And also it was nice to see like the level of shooters, like what every country on what level they were at. Because I would say like almost every country in Europe who takes this sport at least a little bit serious had some of their absolute best shooters in May there, which was, as you said,
Yeah.
it was like you had like a preview of what would happen at the World Championship. With I think that was everyone. A lot of guys wanted, as soon as the World Championship was announced that it's going to be at this range, a lot of countries took the opportunity to go there and check it out.
Yeah. To make some recce, on the place.
Exactly.
How?
Reconnaissance,
Yeah.
get some
Yeah. It's actually
advantages,
it's
but
actually
there were
I guess it's like quite popular, to experience places before shooting there. Just to understand a little bit how the winds could be, like what is the environment, and etc. So yeah, it was fun. So actually, it took some time to prepare, because like I am how to say, not even having some very big like official, let's say, status here in Lithuanian shooting community. So but I was the one who said that, guys, come on, let's go. It's like best, like good opportunity. We can drive there by the car, to go, like to rent some, like a small bus, and go together there, and share the costs. So but then almost immediately all the organizational part of the trip, of the hotels, of the like renting a car, paying starting fees, and etc., it was on me. So so yeah. So and that still is, still continues to this day. So sometimes actually I'm very into many projects here locally, and don't have a lot of time for myself to train, to prepare, to like have all the mental stuff in place, etc. So yeah, so we run like
Comes with
that.
it comes with the role of being one of the bigger organizers in a country. I know all about it. You have to sort of set aside some of your own interest, like so how much you want to shoot and how much you want to spend time on yourself. But it's in the long run, it's like it benefits you and the sport. So if you wouldn't do it, you wouldn't have all these opportunities in the like further down the road to shoot and go compete. So you have to sacrifice a little to gain a lot.
Yeah, it is quite a right statement, because like if you will not grow local community, then like there will be less and less possibilities to train locally and to even raise the level of shooters we have. Actually, I was quite how to say, I wanted to get much better results actually in French finale, and I hope I would be placing better than I did, and in finale and also in world championship. But just for me, there was some, how to say, I was not ready actually for 2-day match. In Lithuania, I basically had all the podium finishes in all the like series you can think. We have like 3 or 4 organizers here who are doing like 1 or 2 matches per year, and actually I placed like top 3 in all of them. So like in Lithuania, in 1-day match I can put together quite easily, but 2-day match is still like a little bit of unknown territory for me, and I don't have so much experience there. So this is where I think, like, going into the matches and driving and seeing what is else there, it could benefit me personally actually in the future. But, and of course, like Lithuanian shooting community, because I guess starting from next year, we will be driving in how to say, not alone,
Yeah, exactly.
We will go.
You'll
Yeah,
be
we will go.
bringing the Lithuanian war wagon over to all countries and destroying the
Yeah.
competitions.
I said to a few Swedish guys that now you should prepare really well, because Lithuanians are coming next year.
You're laying the foundation
Yes, of course. He's
for
the soul of our community.
yeah. So for all of you, those who haven't heard the story, which a very select few have. So basically, you have Eduardas, who in Lithuania, who shoots a Tika action, and by the looks of it, he sometime looked at a foundation stock, and I think he wanted one, but there don't exist for Tikas. So he bought the raw material and went to the garage and made himself a foundation stock. And so at the World Championship, the Americans they were looking at the foundation stocks, the Lithuanians, and so they told some of the Americans, in Lithuania we have foundation, and the Americans apparently were quite confused with what is a foundation, and and then you show them the stock, and like everyone who's seen it and understand the amount of work that went into the stock, they're very, very impressed.
Yeah.
Because it basically is, quite similar to a Genesis 2 foundation, but for a Tika.
Yeah.
And Eduardas made this stock by hand in his garage for like a month after work.
Yeah. This guy has some skills actually. So yeah, but it also shows, that
Yeah,
like
it's quite obvious. Like, yeah, I like it.
yeah, but also like for the countries who don't have like availability of supply chain, what, like for example US guys are having the possibilities. So we are really like quite going deep into the sport, and trying all the possibilities to get, you know, the more or less, let's say, more or less competitive equipment.
Yeah. But it's all like the if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yeah. So
No, it
then,
was.
so yeah, after the finale, we went also to World Championship. It was quite an experience actually. We never have shot at such a small targets. The distances were like not an issue, but the target size was quite small.
Yeah. So how did you prepare between France and the World Championship? Like, what did you do? Any extra training, or did you take anything with you from the? Oh well, France and the World Championship is obviously the same thing, but when we're saying France, we mean the French finale in May.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, you know, like personally for me, it was so much happening in my life at that time. So like excluding the organization of Lithuanian team, like the marketing materials, like the t-shirts, you know, the documents, the payments, like all that thing. Still, I was buying a new house, also putting in some work there. And as long as we finished the work, actually we went to the car with all my family and started driving to France. Then on the way we had some issues with the car, etc. So it's totally like a separate episode for that. Could be needed. It's like you know, everybody who is asking me how I was preparing to waltz, I say like no preparation. Like finished loading ammo, like I don't know, like 3 days before departure. So it was, you know, it was quite a. I was not so late as Spanish guys because when we were driving, they were still reloading the ammo. So
Yeah, I remember that when they're posting pictures in the Instagram group, but some guys were on the way and other guys were still loading ammunition.
yeah. So it seems that some guys were a little bit even more late to everything, but yeah. So our like Kaunas guys and Suvalkija guys, how we are calling them, so they were working quite a lot in 300 meters range. And actually it showed that like there was quite a shift in results between for example me personally and all other Lithuanian shooters. So actually good for them. What is very pity that we couldn't collect for fourth open shooter, because like then in the standings we would be after Great Britain, which like placed fifth, I think.
Oh,
So
okay.
like you know, let's say on average we are quite, you know, like I would say very strong average, like in shooting community, if you even compare the world results. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I mean,
So
some of
yeah,
you guys who
we
showed up, you got. Let me see if I can get this name straight. Then I actually have to find it on the paper so I can read it. Vigandas.
yeah
He is quite the shooter actually,
yeah
and also the other guy who showed up. I can't remember his name now at the class.
Sharunas.
Sharunas. Yeah, they got quite some skill. The only thing that you said, it's if you're not experienced with a 2 day match, and also with the small targets, it's quite hard to. It's difficult to go in like to a big event such as the World Championships with such small targets and also being a 2 day event.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of practice to be able to mentally pull through 2 full days of such intense stages. It's very tough on the mind.
Mhm. Yeah, so you know, and also like I was also not noticing by myself that, for example, we usually don't run those targets like hit to move. So it's like still
Mhm.
like in my brain that you just have a stage, select the targets, either you like hit or miss, you move on. So things like that, they really, how to say, can bite you in the tail, you know, if you are not listening correctly or just not having in mind all this like stuff. I
Yeah,
was
just
making
like I
quite a
did
lot
up
of.
in Yeah, so now I was just gonna say I did the same thing up in Vindal when we first, like, for one
Me
stage
too.
we went from hit or miss, and you move on to the next one, and then all of a sudden you were like not focused, and the next stage was hit to move, and you missed the first target and went on to the second and hit it, and it's like, why are they not calling impacts? And then you're shooting it again, or like, should I move to the next? Start yelling some question, and like, they're not answering. I'm doing something wrong. And then all of a sudden you figure it out, and then you wasted like 4 rounds. You missed one and dropped two, and it's when they switch up the target procedure like that, it's oh
Mm,
man, all you can do afterwards is just laugh for being stupid.
mm. Oh yeah. So no, even in the worlds, I was asking also Morgan King that like on average, like in US, so it's like the matches are like that, so such small targets, close distances, and etc. And he said, no, like usually we have bigger distances and a little bit more bigger targets. So like we because it was at the beginning it was quite a shock, but on the other hand, then I took this strategy that being really really like slow but trying to be very accurate, so because like there is no point of sending the rounds somewhere around the target.
No, exactly. Like with accuracy comes speed, but accuracy should always be
Mm,
first. And if, if you
yeah.
cannot, like, the goal is, so for some matches that I have shot, that I have intentionally taken so much time that I've timed out on many stages, just to, force myself to take it slow. And it hasn't always been like beneficial for the points, but it's been beneficial for the learning curve, so that you when you start forgetting about the important things, such as like, it's always important with accuracy, but it's easy to run too fast, like shoot too fast and
Mm,
drop shots. But as I we talked about this weekend, you might as well shoot 8 rounds, hit 8 rounds, and time out, rather than shoot 10 and hit 8 and have 20 seconds left. It's the same thing.
yeah, it's
And
true.
sometimes you really have to take a step back and just take your time and start forcing yourself to time out on stages, even if it will be not so, like, it might hurt your score at a match, but in the long run, it will be better for you.
Mm. Yeah, so actually quite I think I'm quite known for being quite slow currently, especially when I was shooting my tractor. So
Your tractor.
yeah, I'm talking about Desert Tech. It's
Yeah.
like
So you refer to the Desert Tech as a
yeah,
tractor.
not the best, not the best system for PRS type of competition, but I really like that gun for other stuff.
It is cool. Like it's very packable. So so that thing has. So I remember we were making fun of the Georgians at the World Championship because, you know I don't know, but every Swedish guy who's done, like, looked at them, and you saw like half of their group, they're all the same length, the same age, they're all shooting the same rifle with like the same scope, and you're like, huh, like, funny how that works out. But so they were
Yeah,
all had like their desert techs with like, for what looked like a really short barrel, but since it's a
yeah,
bullpup, it's not really that short, but just like, so the
22
little
inches.
muscle, yeah, so the little muscle break just sticking outside of the handguard, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is this? Why are they shooting those rifles for PR for precision rifle? But you also, like, for them the rifle has double purpose."
Yeah, it's actually as a tactical platform is very, I would say, it's one of the best platforms. Like still, I'm like there are like advantages and disadvantages of that system, but it is very good rifle actually for that purpose. And actually, with the suppressor, it balances quite good on the barricade. So
Yeah, I know. I shot, actually. I've shot the Desert Tech with both the suppressor. I have a friend in Sweden who has one, and
mhm.
both the HDI and the SRS. And when you get like the longer barrel and a suppressor on it, it's not that bad on a bag, actually,
Mm.
because you get it
Yeah.
so close to your actual trigger. You can rest the bag there. It's not bad.
Mm. And what I noticed that after training with my race gun, which I currently already have, and then transitioning to desert tech again. So even without the suppressor, I can work quite good on the barricade and quite fast. So it's like I think it's like it is interesting how it is folding out when you get a little bit more experience, like with the like proper gun, let's say like that, for the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, so like all rifle handling translates. If you get better with one rifle, you're automatically also better with another. So it doesn't like if, but it comes to a degree. Like if you're extremely proficient with a race gun, you're obviously going to be more effective with a slightly more tactical rifle. But
Hmm.
so all practice, as long as it's like for the same purpose, is actually quite good. And a lot of precision rifle also translates into other types of shooting as well.
Yeah, it's true. In Lithuania, we have roughly like I would say like 20 active shooters in precision rifle, and those guys who are coming time to time to long range competition. I'm talking about like tacticals, like steel shooting competition. Let's call it like that. Steel shooting competition,
Yeah, yeah.
long range. So I guess it's roughly like 100 shooters. So 20 of them,
Okay.
they are quite active, like visiting almost all the competition what there is in Lithuania, and I think it will grow because like I'm feeling by my personal, let's say, inbox message inbox, that people are interested in that, and people who recently start, they are asking a lot of interesting questions about the reload, about barrel change and caliber change, which caliber to run, and etc. So I'm feeling that we will maybe in 2-3 years we will double the active shooters, let's say, crowd. What about Sweden?
It's how many shooters we have.
Yeah, just to understand.
It's kind of difficult to it's difficult to say, but I think like for guys who are willing to travel and visit like a 2-day match or like a really big 1-day match, because we have both, depending on what time of the year it's there is. We might have 2-day matches, or we might have a long 1-day match because of how long the sun is up and everything during summer. You might shoot from 7 in the morning until 8 at night, and it's quite rough to shoot a 13-hour match, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also it brings kind of a little bit more people, but when they don't have to take 2 days out of work, because if it's a Saturday Sunday match, people will have to like take at least a little bit of time off on a Friday, and maybe also Monday if they live quite far away. But maybe for guys who are willing to visit those type of matches, we're looking at a couple of like 100 or 200 guys, and then for those who are willing to go to like smaller club matches, a couple of hundred maybe. Estimated would be like maybe between 400 and 600 guys who would be actively willing to go to any level of competition. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
more. It's quite hard to tell since we don't have a real record of it. But let's, for example, say my local shooting club, which I'm part of the board in Västerås, we recently did a quick check on how many members we have that are signed up for. When you join the club, you sign up and you specify what discipline you're shooting. And
Okay.
last time we checked, we had 170 members shooting like long range and PRS in just this club in Västerås. So
Okay.
we're not really sure how many there is, but we think that there are quite much more than what are going to actual competitions.
Okay. Yeah, so quite like, of course, like with the Sweden being such a, like, let's say, large country in terms of like area, and also with such a hunting traditions, I guess quite a lot of hunters are doing that also.
Yeah. So basically, I would say the majority of everyone who is shooting precision rifle in Sweden has a background in hunting. That's why when you go to any match, usually when it comes into October, when hunting season starts, you will see participation drastically decline because everyone focuses on hunting and to fill their freezer with good meat. And so, like it's like an unofficial rule that there's hardly any matches during hunting season because
Okay.
it's very hard to find participants because everyone is just out hunting. So we
Okay.
have this like
Interesting.
match season is between basically March and September, and then like everything dies out. There might be some 1 or 2 small club level matches like on a 300-meter range, but it is also it has to do with how much sunlight you have. But you could easily shoot like a 6-hour match in December, but you would struggle to find people because obviously they're
Mhm.
hunting.
Okay, interesting. So, but like when a hunter or like let's say like a hunt-oriented shooter comes to the match, what are usually their expectations?
Usually, they like most of the guys who show up to a match, they maybe have shot some steel at their local range, got a small introduction by a friend who shoots it, or maybe they've gone like did a class. We have it's just not me and Rembry doing classes, but it's more for those who have already done competitions like once or twice. There are some guys who do really like entry level stuff in Sweden for the real beginners, but.
Mhm.
Like they're happy if they hit maybe 20-30% of the targets and have a great time because everyone's really helpful and everyone's sharing gear, and if there's a new guy, like everyone helps him out and try to explain how to position himself and how to use the bag, and so for him to have a really good time and to come back next time. And the I think that's like the core of the whole the community in Sweden or in most countries. Like almost everyone that everyone I've talked to has had this thing. So some guys who have done other shooting disciplines where they have not been like a feeling of like a big family, because in precision rifle everyone helps each other out and assist her. I mean, it feels more like we're competing with each other and than against
Mhm.
each other. So
Okay. Okay.
usually, like when they show up, they have invested in a kind of an entry level long range scope, like a Vortex Strike Eagle 5-25 or something like that, and they put their on their like hunting rifle in 6555. Maybe they bought a GRS stock or a cheaper MDT chassis or something, and
Mhm.
then they start out there. And like once they've shot a few matches, some of the guys are really hooked, and after a while some people call Fabian, and then it's just yeah, then it's welcome to the club of throwing money at precision rifle.
Okay. So like immediately a custom gun order right there.
Yeah, it's like there's some guys like they shoot for maybe 6 months and then they like, because the thing is like if you have a Tika in let's say 6555 with a short barrel and everything, and then you don't have a really good chassis, and then you're looking at a good chassis, and then you would be looking at replacing your barrel and maybe your trigger and blah 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 and all the things, and then you look at it like what's the difference? You could just sell your Tika and put half of that money towards a custom action, and then you basically have a custom build, and the only price difference is like what, like €1,000.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
it's
true. But
once people understand that, some like I think Fabian has like doubled his customer base like every year now for like 3 or 4 years.
it is nice when you have to, how to say, you have possibility to call someone, because in Lithuania there is no custom rifle builders. So we are also like having this quite a tough supply chain situation in terms of precision rifle. Like usually you cannot buy anywhere like in the store any reloading like supplies, except maybe primers and powder, which are like from time to time appears in the shops. But all other stuff we are sourcing like in Europe, in online shops and through various like precision rifle dealers and etc. So yeah, we have some constraints, but we are, how to say, trying to get there eventually and to have similar possibilities as Nordic guys have.
Yeah.
So because
So
yeah, it's
I've noticed that you're kind of the go-to fixer guy in Lithuania.
yeah, I like, in a way, like I said, it would not be interesting, to act in this area alone. It's like much more fun, to have some kind of camaraderie and also competition, especially like in the beginning inside the country, and then go together to some international competitions to how to say enjoy. Because it's like it's quite silly, to how to say, to keep everything to yourself. It's just there's no point.
No. It's like you when you grow yourself, when you grow others. Like if that translates well, I don't
Mhm.
know if it's an English
Yeah, yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but like it's a poor translation from a Swedish thing.
Mhm.
But you understand what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean. When
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's also, as I said, like when you grow the sport, you also grow yourself.
Mhm.
So
So
it's
actually,
good to see like.
so actually, like in France finale, I was like in let's say squad where I didn't know anyone. In French championship, I met Robert from Sweden, and also Morgan King and some other shooters. So like it is immediately like difference between the guys who are, some guys are coming there like for the win, like very focused, very analytical, like very, how to say, even like how to say, looking to reach their goals. Like some guys are coming just to have a fun, and another group of guys just don't give a this world, so just
Mhm.
like spending their time. So like actually I see those patterns in Lithuanian also community. What is similar? It is similar like in Sweden also.
Like people with the how it feels inside the squad.
No, the people who comes to, like, what goals are people bringing to competition.
Oh, okay. Now I'm with you. So yeah, it also it's very different. Some guys take the win extremely serious, like
Hmm.
extremely serious, and it's more about like they're really focused on themselves, and then you have like a bunch of guys. I at least try to be as helpful as I can. You've shot in the squad with me, so you'll have to be the judge
Hmm.
of that. But most of the guys are really like, even if they really enjoy winning, they also want to help others, you know, do their best,
Hmm.
because it's also quite rewarding for most people to see someone, like if they've struggled for one or two stages and then you give them like a 2 or 3 pointers, and then you're like, oh, okay, you see like a slight improvement, and then you point out one or more two things, and then you see them like grow over the time of a match. And like some guys do that, some guys don't, but I think like once you like it's quite the feeling, like when it's when you know this, the feeling of when you're standing on the podium, especially on a match, and especially if you're doing it on a big match, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the feeling of winning. And you have to remember that we're all just doing this for fun. And like with winning is important, but it's not fun winning if you're not beating your peers on their best day. So it's kind of a, I'm looking up on
Yeah, I
my,
guess. Yeah, I
like
guess I
above my head now, like for those of you who are looking at through video on this, because this podcast will be on YouTube and also on Podbean or Spotify. But currently I'm looking at all the, like my what do you call, like my cupboard on top of my reloading bench, and looking at some of the prices, and remembering back on times where it's felt like the time when I'm actually performed the best is when I focused the least on winning. If it makes sense, like I focused as
hmm
little as possible on the winning and more on like every stage, and having a good time and shooting and things like that.
Yeah, I guess I know what you mean, because when you are stressed and really prepared and into the winning stuff, I guess the, let's say, the stress and some kind of this stress hormones are attacking you too much. And
Yeah. So it's like an old saying from a book that I read, uh, winning in mind. It's better to focus on the process than the result. And if you're
mhm.
focusing on the result, usually you have not as good of a time, and you usually perform not as good. So yeah.
Okay. So
But yeah, it's a bunch. It's like people are different. Like some people, they perform better with focusing on the win, and others perform better with focusing on like one stage at a time.
okay. So was that your first class and training abroad?
Like the one now in
Yeah,
Lithuania.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time abroad actually. It's I've had multiple ones over the past 3 or 4 years in Sweden,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's the first one abroad in Lithuania. It was uh, very,
So
as I
having
said earlier on, it was quite rewarding to have that class or those
mhm,
classes.
mhm. Like the idea, to have classes also came that we were boiling in our own soup, like watching like online videos, like what other guys are doing. Let's say like during the competition, what kind of stages they run. So you saw the props; they are more or less, let's say, on par with like the most popular props what you can find, like anywhere in the matches. Maybe except of stones, what you have quite plenty of in northern countries.
Yeah.
We don't.
No, you had quite a good variety of different props on that range. Actually, it surprised me how like the potential of that facility, like with the different distances and lots of steel targets, and all the way out to 1,000 meters. It surprised me quite a lot.
Mm,
I'd looked at some YouTube, no, it's not YouTube, like Google Maps footage of the map, and I was like, I'm not really sure. And when I went there, like, it was like, wow, this, like, if you could like probably have a really really good match at that range and attract some like top internet, like at least European shooters, if you do like
mm,
a good 1 or 2 day match at that place. Because
yeah.
it's quite easy to go to Vilnius as well, and it's not that far away from it. It's just a 55-minute flight from Sweden, and it's not an expensive country per se.
Mm. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We're not like a very cheap country by any means, actually, but we are quite I would say affordable. So this range location is great. It's like a half an hour from the capital, and yeah, and quite let's say close to the airport. So it's yeah. Like I said, I had some reservations regarding the width of the facility, but yeah, it's better maybe
No,
to have
it's
outsider opinion, not
yeah.
judging by themselves.
Yeah. No, I'm quite sure you could probably run like 5 or 6 stages at a time on that match, and then maybe you do like a good, like maybe a 50 or 60 guy competition. I think that would be quite doable. And you run like
Okay.
6 stages in the morning, and then you run 6 stages in the afternoon.
Mhm. Yeah, we will need to talk with the community about that, and we'll see. Maybe it will happen sometime in the future.
Well, you know
Okay,
how to
so
call, who to call if you need any assistance.
oh yeah, the group of arrows, for the pre-match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. In any case, we would not organize this competition for us to win it. So if we
No,
will do that,
no,
so yeah.
that is actually. I know there's quite of a funny story from many years ago. I was almost banned from competitions, like 1 or 2 competitions in the south. There were talks about banning shooters from, like, not only me myself, but like
Uh-huh.
shooters from our region in Sweden were very ahead of the curve. And when
Okay.
we went to like local matches, we performed very well. And I know some match directors that are like talking about that we were not allowed to come because they're guys who were shooting in that region, like they couldn't win. But then someone who had like thinking about the bigger picture, they said like it's quite well. It's good that these guys are from Stockholm are showing up, like the Stockholm area, because it gives motivation for the guys to improve. And as you said, not boiling in your own soup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess like all the communities, especially like in shooting competitions, they go through very similar, let's say, patterns of history and how they evolve. Because there are some kind of similarities like that in Lithuania also. Like for example, like you know, a lot of shooters are not only hunters but also like active reserve guys in Lithuanian Rifleman Union. So you know, we are always preparing if shit hit the fan. So and when we have this like military kind of tactical competitions, then you know we are the ones who would like to represent our like squad or city or whatever. And then you know everybody is, how to say, everybody is mad that you know those competitors or sportsmen are coming, like almost like, you know, how to say, almost like legionnaires, you know, hired person just to do that. So it's all the time is those conversations and talks. Should we have those guys like in the competition? Like maybe we should create like separate division for sportsmen, etc. So yeah, actually
No, it's
this year
I
actually
recognize
this
that.
yeah, actually this year I won like Lithuanian um, Sniper Fest competition, which is like for Lithuania and NATO allies, like a biggest sniper event in the region, like for the military guys. And I was representing Rifleman Union from Vilnius city, and I won like second overall and first open, you know, division. So after the competition, there was quite a lot of conversations, you know, between the military guys that, oh, again, those sportsmen are coming and, you know, like winning. Then a lot of guys not realizing that actually like civilians everywhere in the world, civilians are shooting better than military, especially in long range. It's like a rule usually, since like
Yeah,
I guess
because
like 5
yeah,
years, it's for sure.
yeah. Since the sport for precision rifle has been growing, like this is definitely the pattern in any country who has precision rifle. Because you know, let's say for like a sniper or something like that, shooting is such a small part of the job.
Yeah,
And for us who, like, as you said, as sportsmen, like we go to sleep thinking about firing solutions and rifles and ranges, and then you wake up in the morning and you go to like work, and then you on the way in your car you think about the same thing, and then so it's like it occupies so much time on our mind. And obviously when you do that for a long time and you do also shoot quite a lot and go to all these competition, you gain experience and you become a very efficient shooter. And it's very hard to like compare that to someone who has this as like 3 or 4% or 5% of their job, and then they go home and they have a normal life and they just, you know, they work. It's their job,
yeah,
as I said, and always such a small part of it. And we are 100% dedicating most time of our, like majority of our free time to doing what they do for just as maybe a few hours a week.
yeah. I just remember, you know, when you were talking, I was thinking about such small part of our lives, like reloading, for example, load
Oh
development.
God. Eh. I just want to shove my fingers in my throat now and throw up. Yeah, I hate reloading by now. It's just load development is just the most boring thing, and reloading, I hate it. And that is why like I have the
Yeah.
videos on YouTube on how I make it easier. And every time like I do another
To
one, it's
reply.
just easier and less steps.
Uh, oh yeah,
So it's you know, how what is the easiest way to make ammunition and still be able to win matches, and it's, you know, I'm removing one step at a time.
yeah, yeah. It is like, yeah, the guys who not doing that for quite a long time, they don't realize sometimes how what is the approach, you know, what we are having with that. So like my
Yeah.
300 rounds for the new rifle is just the previous rifle load, like almost no testing. Like did load development in 10 shots.
Yeah, no, it's just so it doesn't. If you have good quality components and a good barrel, you don't need that much effort into it. It's also like some. I was talking to Eduardas, and they were translating a little bit, and he asked me, "Don't you ever clean your brass?" And I was like, "No." Do you ever clean your primer pockets? No. And I remember you asking me if I chamfer the inside of my case neck, and it's like, yeah, once when they're new. After that, no. And I remember you were quite surprised, and Vladas was quite surprised. And it's like, it's not necessary. It still shoots good.
Yeah.
Like if you remove all these steps, you save a lot of time because after you've, I think I burned through like since I started shooting like 6 or 8 barrels, and like reloading is more like of a has to than wanting to. Because if I could buy, I was talking to one of my friends over here in Sweden, and
Hmm.
they asked me what rifles were more common, like calibers, when I was teaching the class, and I said, well, basically, it's like a lot of people shoot 308, and they're like, why? Well, because you could buy GGG for like, and I remember, I think it was some of the guys over there said it used to be like, like what was it, like
75, 80
€1?
cents.
Yeah, and which is what, like 10 kroner,
It's
basically,
less. It's
and
like 8
it's
or
less.
9 krona.
Yeah, and I told them like it's used to be less than 10 kroner for per round, and they just started laughing, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't reload if I had ammunition at that price. Like never. Like I just stop. I'd only reload for most important matches, and then I'd only shoot factory ammo if it was that price. But we don't have that luxury in Sweden, and
Mm.
unfortunately, the price of your 308 ammo has gone up, but it's still much cheaper than it is in Sweden.
Yeah, but it's the same in Lithuania also. All the prices, like like connected with the guns, shooting, and etc. They increased dramatically during this year. So, it's life is like that. So everywhere is that. Like also like before Baltic long range opened. We usually were shooting like maximum 600, 660 meters. And
Yeah,
then 308, GGG round with 175 Sierra Match King bullet, it was, how to say, it was working quite okay. Like you can hit like steel reliably, like Ipsic target at 660 meters, you can hit quite reliably actually with that round, and with a little bit longer barrel, something like 24 and plus inches. But as soon as we opened like this multi-long range and have availability to shoot out to 1 kilometer, then suddenly like everybody, like how to say, understood that like 700 meters and plus, it's already like a hassle. And that also like made guys to start to think about other calibers. So like 6.5 Creedmoor became quite a popular round. Also, I guess I was like not in F class. I was like first guy who was running 6 millimeter. So, and I guess after the world championship next year, we will have like at least 4 guys running 6 millimeters. So yeah, so we are, how to say, getting to know, trying, experiencing on our own, let's say, skin, not just looking to the YouTube and then, making this, let's say, input into our and change into our equipment and run forward. So one interesting thing maybe to talk about, and maybe to maybe a little bit summarize our training, what we have in Lithuania. What, like from your point of view, what do you think like the key bullet points to be a successful shooter in this discipline?
oh, that's one of the most important things. Yes, is first that you have like a rifle who shoots at least, I would say somewhere. It's really essential that you have a rifle that maybe shoots between 15 and 20 millimeters, and preferably
Mm.
less, but like 50, let's say like an average baseline of 15 millimeters on a 5-shot group is it's more than sufficient, but you will want to
So
be
it's like
somewhere in that
point 0.5,
ballpark.
0.5, 0.6 MOA, right?
Yeah. So something in that area, and then you will be like, because otherwise it's quite difficult to get anything from the training. Because if you're shooting like a rifle that shoots 30 or 40 millimeters, then it's quite difficult for smaller targets to judge if it was you or the wind or the rifle. So you want a quite accurate rifle, and the cartridge itself is not extremely important in the beginning. Like 308 is quite all right. It's not wrong to start with a 308. Definitely not. And by the time you'll get more serious, you will know if you want like a 6.5 or a 6 millimeter. And as we did on the classes when we did the craft challenges, that is probably the best way to improve your skill, because then you know on what level of the like on the like on the barricades, like if you're high or low or mid or prone, like where do you throw the shots? And if you start like throwing shots on the standing or kneeling or sitting or anything like that, you know where to improve, and the paper keeps the results for you rather than a piece of steel. So paper at
Mm,
like 100 meters is probably one of the best ways to improve yourself as a shooter, because like the wind is not a big thing at 100, and but your own skill as a shooter is like the biggest factor. And other than that, myself, I just do like probably like 98% of my training on 100 and 300, nothing else. And then every now
okay.
and then I go up to 500 just to, for the fun of it. We have 500 meters in my local club, but it's not something that I use a lot. But that, and also understanding that time is not important, impacts are. And if you're rushing it to the point that you're missing the target because of you're going too fast, then you kind of not understood the whole point, because it's called precision rifle, not like going as fast as you can and hitting a barn door rifle.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
time management, shooting slow and accurate, and having an accurate rifle, and not caring too much about BCE and what round you're running, because as I showed on the class, it's the difference in real life out to like 600 meters or 700 is not that big.
Hmm. Okay.
So the just going to like that and like practicing and going out and talking to other people and taking a class, hint hint, marketing myself. No, but and also going to matches. Like, don't be scared to go to matches. It's the best place to learn. You will see what the sport is all about, and then you'll know, like, keep track of your scores on a match. That is quite like go to a serious competition and see what you need to improve. Like, where do you suck the most, and where do you need to put in the work? And then you practice, and you go to your next competition, and hopefully you've improved, and then you continue the road.
Okay. This is quite a few good advices actually. What I also heard from you and after botany and also after the training is that yeah, it's better to start slower and more getting more accurate, more stable in the positions, and let off rounds like you have paid for them. Not just throw them away. So
Exactly. So
I
like
think yeah.
it's no point in sending them into the dirt. Like you bought them or made them so they should hit the steel. And if you're rushing it and like you feel like you're going so fast that you have no control on the rounds, like of course you're going to miss targets, but it shouldn't be because you're going too fast.
Mhm. Okay.
You should really put all the effort you can into making perfect shots.
Okay. Like from my side, what I have noticed the most, like where was the improvement, and even I was, let's say, I was surprised by that, but I think I did quite well also in botany, a long range competition, is target acquisition. Like just before, like still looking through the scope.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no,
No, I forgot to
I,
mention that. So finding your
I,
targets is like where people lose the most amount of time.
mm, they pay for magnification of the scope, so they use it on full potential.
Exactly. I paid for 25, so I got them gonna use it.
Oh yeah, yeah. You need to
That
have
means
quite a skill to use it all the time on full mag.
yeah. So I know there's some guys in the US who run their magnification all the time on maximum. I think like Dave Preston runs it at. He used to have the 5 to 25 Gen 2 race. No, it's it's no 4.5 to 27 Gen 2 racer. And I known he said somewhere, and I also seen the pictures. Like he runs that thing at 27 all the time, and which for me is unimaginable. I wouldn't
Uh,
find shit, and I also would have trouble seeing the environment and things that I want to see, like leaves and the everything around the target. So for me,
Mm.
for most guys, it's better to run it at like 16 to 20 or like 14 to 20, and be quicker at finding the targets. But of course, like some guys are just natural, and they'll find them no matter their magnification.
Oh yeah, it's true. Actually, it's interesting, this experience for me, like one of the like really, really like what stuck during the competition in Sweden is that that we need to implement one more axis in finding targets. Not just like from left to right, but also we need to
Yeah,
utilize y-axis as well. So that
no,
was really
no,
like
that's
really, really interesting. Like
yeah.
from the
Most competitions you have Thai Force in Sweden, which is usually at late summer every year. That competition also have some different elevations, but other than that, they're quite flat. So
mm,
Sweden is not a very mountainous country, but you have some hills here and there. Norway, on the other hand, they sometimes have a lot of elevation and ups and downs. I remember, like, I think it was like the Midnight Sun rifle challenge when that competition existed, that we were shooting so high up that people had issues with like extending their bipods because it was like a flat surface. We're shooting up from a road, and you're
mm,
shooting up a mountain, and people had issues with the like not being able to extend their bipods enough to hit the target.
oh
But
yeah,
that was quite an interesting competition, though.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't longer, and it doesn't exist anymore after COVID. Some of the matches died after COVID because of 2 years of lockdowns and not having people traveling for the matches. And people, when they couldn't host, they made life changing decisions. So they could, like, after COVID, they couldn't, like, they didn't have the time to host those kinds of matches. But it's quite when you're looking at it, there's very few guys who are actually stepping up and hosting like bigger matches in Sweden, and Norway is a little bit better at this. But so I used to host quite a big range like square range match in Westeros with like 60 or 80 guys. I haven't done this year, but I might do it next year. But other than that, you still have like the same 3 or 4 or 5 guys who still like they're responsible for the big matches. And
Mm.
Tobias, who runs the Vindel match, he is actually quite new to the game, which most of us, like all of us, really appreciate that he puts on this match because it's quite a massive amount of work to make it happen.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was like visible also being at the match that the range was very well prepared. Like the targets were set up, I guess. Like maybe I'm not the big specialist, to talk about that, and not so experienced guy, but I really appreciated like the shooting locations and how it was organized, and especially the river stage, like on 2 days. I guess everybody was interested in that. So yeah,
Yeah, it was.
I really, it is a,
Yep.
I think like that match has really like big potential. Being like from the flat country as Lithuania is, I guess like it should be quite interesting to many like international shooters in the future.
Yeah, because he runs it twice a year. So next time it's going to be in spring, like I think
Mm-hmm.
May, and then he'll run it in like end of September again. So he runs it 2 times a year. And you should definitely, like anyone who's listening to this who is like thinking about a match to go to in Sweden, Finland is definitely one of those matches, or Botnia Long Range as it's called, like its real name.
Mm-hmm.
Is definitely one of those matches that you should consider going to if it's like if you can go in May or if you can go in September. Like that is really one of the places to go because it's really beautiful and it's not that far from a domestic airport. So you just transit in Stockholm, jump on a domestic flight, and you go to Umeå, and it's just like how far could it be from Umeå? Like an hour, 45
It was
minutes.
quite close, roughly an hour. I think it's maybe, yeah, it is roughly an hour.
Yeah, and like you have quite a nice hotel there with good food and quite beautiful scenery. It's really a good place to go to. I know some of the Spaniards are really wanted to go there and scream "Impacto."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Impacto.
the party before the competition and between the days was also like one of the things to visit, I guess.
Yeah, like by party we don't mean everyone getting shit faced, but like we
Oh
had
no
like a
no.
buffet of good food and everyone was drinking like 1 or 2 beers and socializing. It's one of the nicer things with going to these big matches is that you meet so many like-minded people. Because I mean,
Mm,
most of us are the same kind of guys who just wants to justify to go out in the forest, shoot guns, and then drink beers at night.
yeah. It's like on that aspect, it's quite similar to hunting, I guess.
Yeah, but you're coming home with less money and no meat.
Yeah,
So it's
and you actually shoot at something,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
100%.
Well, yeah, you get to shoot.
Yeah, yeah,
That's very true.
yeah.
That is good. So, what's the plan for like Lithuania now? Is like you have matches upcoming, or is it like where do you feel like the sport is
Actually,
going?
this season was a little bit like due those, let's say, not very nice circumstances. We are more or less like on hold. On the other hand, like Lithuanian shooters visited three foreign competitions, which earlier was not the case. So we have our, let's say, ups and downs, but I guess like from the next year, like actually still this year we are thinking about hosting one more match, like let's say widely available for Lithuanian guys, and we will see. Maybe it will happen. If not, then we are preparing for 22 LR competitions in the first half of the year to qualify for Worlds in Italy. And then like precision rifle center fire game will also continue like for that to make a qualification for South Africa. So actually right now I'm sure that in South Africa our team will be much bigger than it was in France. And also we hope to have similar amount of guys, like 4 or 5, and at rimfire competition in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like also those international events are also one of the like key motivational drivers for the guys to, first of all, to prepare better. Secondly, to bring some experience, bring connections, bring friendships, and then to grow the sport locally. So it's like it's like it helps to be better prepared, I would say, on the long run, to have this
Yeah,
kind
for
of
sure.
format. So all this work, what especially you guys did, like personally you, Rob, and like Scott and etc. All the guys who were in the very beginning, Tiff from UK also, who were really in the very beginning of that. I think it will bring a lot of growth for the sport internationally. So
No,
it's
that's
really
the whole
nice.
idea.
Yeah. So I guess like in Lithuania we are feeling that already, because like
No, that's good.
quite a few guys are already interested in but everybody is starting from the same question. So what caliber should I buy, and etc. So yeah. But then that those guys are already interested into going to competitions. Not
Yeah.
just casually shoot at steel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so
No,
I
the
guess
whole
this is the
caliber thing is usually like every country starts out like the big debate on what to shoot and what works and what doesn't, and it's like
yeah
any 6.5 or 6mm really works, but with you guys having the access to 308 ammunition and it's also being so common, it's not actually a bad place to start if it's like readily
mm,
available and the rifle is makes sense to buy. You can always replace it. You just don't spend too much money in like building a rifle around the 308 cartridge, but it's a good place to start.
mm. Oh yeah. I think it's almost all guys are doing that, starting from that. And usually they are, how to say, they are let's say consulted to do like that. and it's quite a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it's like it's not bad starting with them. It's, as I showed you, like the ballistics are quite similar. So it's not the ballistics thing. So some say like, oh, you need to start with the 308 because you'll be better at reading wind. But I showed you that chart, and every day of the class I showed them. It really makes hardly any difference.
Mm, yeah.
It's more of an availability thing and easier to get out and shoot, because if you don't, like 6.5 and 6mm in Lithuania, as far as I understand, it's you have to be a reloader.
Yeah,
And that might not be the best place to start if you don't have the time, or you don't really know, or you really just want to start and getting into it. Like a 308 might be the way to go, because the availability of decently quality ammunition. Because I mean, GGG is not it's not a bad brand. Like it's quite good ammunition for what it costs.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's true. Reloading, how to say, makes this entry point quite high. To get all the equipment and etc. So this is like maybe one of the barriers to be really competitive. But like on the other hand, to be really competitive, you cannot skip on this. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
for sure.
Maybe like to shoot factory like 6BR ammo would be a possibility. But with the ammo supplies not so unstable, I don't believe that's the case, anymore. Anywhere, maybe, not just in Lithuania.
No,
So
it's true. But I think most guys they're over analyzing the whole reloading thing. It doesn't have to be that hard. I know I loaded maybe the basic kit from Lee, with the aluminum press and what's it called, like the anniversary kit or something. I think I loaded like my first 5,000 or 6,000 match rounds on one of those kits.
Okay.
So
you were really, how to say, into it.
Yeah, like I remember living in my my small apartment, and I drilled like holes in my office desk in the apartment and putting up like the the press and everything, and having like the balance scale to get all the powder into it, and because I couldn't afford much more. And I mean, it's the ammunition I loaded when I won the national championships in field shooting, which for those of you listening, don't know what that is. It's unknown distance and paper targets out to 700 meters. I actually used that same kit because that was all I had in 6.555. And now I've just went completely overboard and have like a Dillon 750 and an auto trickler and like amp annealer and things like that. But it just gives you that little extra edge. But like starting out with a cartridge like a 6.5 or 6mm and a basic reloading kit, it will go a very, very long way. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to cost as much as your rifle. It will like do 95 or 98% of the same ammunition as I'm making with all this expensive gear. It's like with everything. When you're building a race car, like if you want 2,000 horsepower, it's quite like it's almost cheap to go to 800. But when you want to go to 1,000, it costs a fortune.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's like this to make a gap on this, let's say the last like 20%, this Pareto rule, that to reach 80% of the goal of the result, you need 20% of effort, and for the last 20% of effort of goal, you need to make 80% of effort. So just to reiterate the Marcus. So this is the press I was loading my last 300 rounds, because I needed to do that in the field, semi-field conditions. So
yeah. For those of you who are listening into this on like Spotify or anything, to the Viking Accuracy podcast, Mindaugas just showed me a hand press from Lee, which he brings with him on travels.
Yeah, €60 or $60 like worth of equipment. Yeah, as a loading press. So it was quite good. I had this craft target like number 3, and that was really limited, not due to reloading. Like they say, shoots half minute all day.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, it
Yeah.
shoots half minute all day. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah, it's not true
Oh wait,
actually,
you have
but
to
yeah.
also do you have to add the part if I do my part.
Oh yeah. If you don't touch the rifle on a barricade.
Yeah. No, it's
Okay.
it's hilarious. Actually, it's funny.
Yeah. Okay, Marcus. I
Yeah.
think
So
we had covered quite a lot of topics around the last few weeks and the last few months, actually, regarding precision rifle shooting, also in Lithuania and Sweden.
yeah,
So
it's
just
no, I will have to figure something out more in Lithuania for like spring or next summer, and or I'll just visit and shoot a match and eat some of
mm,
the sapelinas.
yeah, you are welcome. A lot of guys really
Thank you.
like were thankful for your visit and for the time we had. Having a possibility, I would like to send greetings to you. Also, thank you for coming. Thank you for really like how to say helping me to come to Sweden. It was not so. It was not how to say so easy to get everything sorted out. So really, thank you. Also, greetings to Tobias and Fabian, who both were really helpful. So thank you, guys. We will send some Lithuanians more to you to shoot your matches. And yeah, see you guys in the coming months. Sorry.
Coming months, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
that
you.
was it. So for yeah, we'll definitely have to do another podcast like this in the future. So we'll run one consecutively again, recording it like this way and publishing on both platforms.
Okay, cool.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night, guys.
Doing fine. I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside